Hey everyone, I'm Karan from Enable. Welcome back to the official video tutorial series on AbleSet. We've discussed many ways AbleSet lets you navigate, organize, and display your playback session. But the next feature actually gives you control over the levels of your playback. And that's using track groups in AbleSet's mixer window. The idea behind track groups isn't necessarily to give you full control over your Ableton mixer, but to allow you to remotely access specific parameters that are relevant to your live show. So just as Setlist and Performance View give you a concise overview of your session's timeline, Mixer aims to do the same thing for important track levels, mutes, and solo. This could, for instance, be useful if your guitarist's amp modeler or wireless fails during a gig. You could just unmute a pre-recorded track of their performance. Or if you're using Ableton as a DJ-style playback deck, you could use it for live cuts where you want the audience to sing a line by just pulling down the instrumental. If you've been following along with this video series, the first thing you will see when selecting the mixer at the top over here is your click track. As you can guess, these controls correspond with the same controls in Ableton Live. So I can solo the click, I can mute the click, and I can change its level. And any changes I make in my Ableton session itself will actually be mirrored by AbleSet. So technically, when we set up the click track in an earlier video, AbleSet will actually interpret it as what we call a track group. You can customize AbleSet's mixer view and get more control over your audio by creating more of these track groups. The flag for this is +G:, and then the name you'd like to give the group. Just make sure not to leave a space between the colon and the group name. In my session, this audio track contains all my drum stems, so I'll just type +G:, drums, and the slider will show up in the AbleSet mixer. The same thing also works on group tracks. So for instance, I use this group track to organize and sum up all my vocal stems. With +G:, vocals, I can now control the summed audio in AbleSet's mixer. And the cool thing is, if you want to control multiple tracks at once, but not group them together in Ableton, you can add them to a shared AbleSet track group using the same group name on the individual tracks. I've got this set up for all my synth tracks. These are not grouped in Ableton, but I've flagged them to be in the same AbleSet track group. So soloing the track group will activate solo on all separate tracks. And AbleSet also accounts for individual levels in the group being different, so you'll see that if I move the group volume, the level changes on my synth tracks will be relative. And that way the balance between them will stay intact. And on top of that, it's even possible to include a track in multiple groups. As you can see, muting my instrumental also mutes the drum group, since the drum track in Ableton has both group flags in its name. The color of the track group in AbleSet mirrors the color of the control tracks in Ableton, so everything stays consistent throughout your setup. If you have tracks with different colors in the same track group, AbleSet will choose the color of the topmost track as the group color. Track groups also react to any automations you have, so if the drums are leveled to 0 and the vocals are muted in this first song, and then I've automated the drum level to be down at -5 and the vocal to be activated in the next song, AbleSet will mirror these changes. If I make adjustments to an automated parameter from within AbleSet, the automation will be deactivated in Ableton Live. This is where having the Re-enable Automation button available down here is great for going back to your default state. By the way, we already encountered track group soloing before without actually knowing it when we were using the solo click during count-in option. Having soloing available for any tracks you'd like is really powerful, but there might be certain tracks that you'd want to remain active at all times, like your timecode or your click. For this, AbleSet offers the NEVERMUTE flag, or +NM for short, so that once you solo anything in the AbleSet mixer, these flag tracks will be soloed alongside it. The NEVERMUTE flag works on any track in Ableton, even if it's not part of a track group, as you can see with the timecode over here. And finally, track groups are also available as a performance view element. Over here, they only show mute and solo, so you have quick access without taking up too much space. And to wrap up, here are a few additional ideas of how track groups can be helpful. Mutes also work on MIDI tracks, which is cool if you're using Ableton Live as, for instance, a drum sampler. Set up a backup track with the played MIDI notes already on the timeline and unmute it if there's an issue with the drum pad on stage. Another cool one that also ties in with automation is using guide tracks for your vocalists. I like to have the entire lead vocal lined up with my arrangement right here, but keep it muted and only automate it to be active for sections where the singer wants it on their in-ears. And if I'm also performing on stage, I'd prefer not to hear those guides myself. But with the mixer in AbleSet, I can still monitor that the guide is unmuted when it's needed. And I can still override the automation and activate it for the entire song right here if my singer needs more support or needs to be punched back in. Okay, great, that covers it for the mixer. If you want to try this feature yourself, head over to ableset.com to get your copy of AbleSet and check out Enable for more tips on playback in Ableton Live. If you find these videos helpful, please leave us a like and please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.